You said that you felt honored to share Courtney's story.
Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit about that and why?
Well, I mean, we're always honored to be able to talk about Courtney, and we love being asked about her. But sharing this particular story, I would say that we're most honored to be able to share it with focus and share specifically the last couple months of her life.
Death is not the final word. I remember last week receiving the news of the death of Courtney. I felt like I've had no response. And maybe that's where we are right now. And we need to take our cue on how to respond from the gospel. Although the world wants to avoid it like completely, it's a natural part of the Christian life because the Lord invites us through death to life all the time. We live that actively, and maybe most actively, in baptism, that we're plunged into the waters, where we enter into the tomb, and then from there, Christ raises us to new life. And we live that again when we go to confession. And we're invited through the sacrament of confession to put to death the former way of life and to allow the Lord to give us and bring us to new life in Him. So there's that constant movement in the Christian life to move from death to life. So if we're living the Christian life, it's not foreign to us at all. The harshness of death in the physical world still hits us, but it is always wrapped in God's mercy because we recognize the pattern is being lived out just in a different way. And the pattern comes to its beautiful completion because it's moving to our final home. We are strangers and sojourners here. And so the death on this earth is the pattern of the death of Jesus. And then we get to live His pattern of resurrection and the movement into heaven. And His ascension breaks open those gates to heaven. And it's the gift for us to walk through that by His grace to enjoy the eternity of our heavenly kingdom.
Courtney was my best friend, definitely my person, and I think it's been hard trying to explain what she means to me, just because she was like one of the biggest constants in my life. We always had pretty deep conversations on life. We did talk about the faith quite a bit, and yeah, I definitely saw she had like a desire through our conversations.
Catherine was a big positive influence on Courtney's life. She was in a lot of ways the witness, the testimony to Courtney of living the Christian life as a teenager.
When you experience this like peace and joy, you want everyone you love to experience it too. And I think early on in life, I kind of saw like God was the solution to so many problems, and I wanted her to know that. And so I would just like invite her to like come to Mass with me. And yeah, I don't think she like took it very seriously. And so she would come with me, and during the reading, she'd be like, "What are you doing? What are you learning? Are you having fun?" I'm like, "No, Mass is like my hour." Like, shh. She like knew that it would bother me so much. I think with like a lot of young people, it was kind of seen as like a religion and rules instead of like this deep personal encounter. And until you have that encounter that's personal, like that's when things change. And so I just don't think she had that quite yet.
Right before Seek 2017, San Antonio, actually, Courteney was not initially all that thrilled with about going. I remember your mom telling her, Courteney, get on the bus. And so she got on the bus and she got down to Seek, and the messages that started coming home started changing. She was having a great time.
I was at the Seek conference and I was very busy with this and that. And I saw Courteney and her cousin. And there are hundreds, if not thousands of people around. And she was so filled with joy, she and her cousin just stood out. I saw the joy of the Lord. It wasn't the joy of the world. It wasn't the joy of being around cool people, thousands of them. It was the joy of the Lord. And I saw that and said, praise God. He's winning. He's captured her heart. It was clear.
I think she discovered that it was okay to have a relationship with Christ.
She just texted me while she was there saying she was like loving it, and just like how close she was feeling to God. And afterwards she was texting me saying she just like had the urge to go pray all the time.
She said yes to God. You know, she never pushed him away totally, but the last, 6 months or so, she started going to Thursday and Sunday masses up at CSU. And it changed her entire world. As far as Courteney's journey goes, I think going to Seek was just the icing on the cake, and I think that was God's way of saying, okay, we're going to make the final push right now. So she went to Seek. She came back. She went to confession up at CSU, and the head of the CSU focus team was telling the story at the Seek the following year about Courteney jumping up and down.
And that's how they jump. They were jumping up and down, these gangly girls, and I was like, what's going on over there? And one of them goes, Courteney. Courteney decided to go back to confession for the first time in 7 years. Courteney decided to go back to confession for the first time in 7 years.
I think with Courteney, when she finally got to a place where she was on fire with her faith, and you could see it, right? She glowed with it. She just had this presence of light and joy that was unmistakable.
A friend, Jacqueline, was willing to say, hey, do you want to go back? Do you want to come to confession? And she did. It was a beautiful, beautiful sight. 2 weeks later, I was driving in my car and I got a call. Got a phone call, and they said, hey, got some really bad news. Last night, there was a car accident.
We got to the hospital and we walked in through the emergency room doors, and 2 state patrol officers got up and stood up and started walking towards us and asked if they could talk to us in a private room, and told us what had happened. And indescribable.
Courteney's story is all about how God prepared her using focus for what she was going to have happen to her on February 1st, 2017, when she was driving home in an ice storm and lost her life. And you could see now, after the fact, how God used focus to lay this path for her, where
for us.
And us, where she was never in such a good place and never in better shape in her faith to answer that question to God. Yes, I love and adore you, and I'm ready to join you.
The Lord proved his love. God is pursuing every one of us for salvation, and he's doing it today. And he did it yesterday and the day before, and he'll do it tomorrow. And what I saw in the life of Courteney, the testimony is, the yes is so powerful. And all of us can say yes. God is pursuing every one of us. It's not reserved for a special few because of situations or something. that God is pursuing every one of us here and now. And the key ingredient afterwards is our yes. Open the doors. Open the doors of your heart.
While she was at sea, she also texted me and she was like, I think that you should be a focused missionary. And I ended up applying a year after, and I think originally it was kind of something I felt like I was doing for Courteney. I went to Boise State University for 2 years, and I think it was really in the summer going into my second year where I realized, like, I'm not just doing this for Courteney. That desire has been in me, and those were the most interiorly transformative years of my life. And so just to like carry her with me through that whole thing, it's really beautiful, like a path I definitely wouldn't have pursued on my own if all of that had not happened.
The darkness that was closing in begins to give way to the dawn of the resurrection. The abyss of nothingness is replaced by the landscape of our heavenly homeland. The sorrow and the fear and the pain that we've been experiencing give way in the encounter of the risen Jesus. They give way to hope and peace and even joy. And the Lord in these past days has been saying to me again and again, come closer. But it's perhaps a place of fear. I don't know what to expect, Lord. Come closer. We draw closer to the cross because that's what we see. Come closer. We can draw near to the cross and what we find there as we stand there in faith with Mary, the mother of Jesus. We find that everything is new. We find that our hearts begin to heal and that our eyes begin to fix beyond this present moment, and we fix on the resurrection.
I'm sure she's looking down on me now laughing, but at the end of the day, I'll be with her when I'm gone, and she's in a much better place than we are. So
She's where we all strive to be someday.
So that's kind of the focus of our family. When you sit back and look at Courtney's life, she was here one minute and gone the next. We had no idea. My main goal in life, and it still is every single waking day, is to get my wife to heaven and to get my kids to heaven.
I think it took us a little while after her death to realize it was just obvious that, we credit her involvement in Focus and her trip to San Antonio for the Sikh conference for her being in heaven.